Hey guys, this is lesson 6.2b, all about circles. So before we move on to 6.3, when we find the surface area of a cylinder, we have to review circles. So the first thing, all of this should be a review from last year. This is all in 6th grade, but a circle has a center, and from that center, if you draw a line from the center to the outside right here, that's our radius. Okay, so if you draw a line from the center to the outside of the circle, that's the radius. If you draw a line from one side of the circle through the center to the other side, that's the diameter. Okay, so the radius is always half of the diameter, or the diameter is twice the radius. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to go kind of quickly because all of this was done in 6th grade. But the diameter, in words, it reads the diameter D of a circle is twice the radius. So all that's saying is this formula right here. To find your diameter, you just multiply your radius by 2. Or, the sentence also says the radius R of a circle is 1/2 the diameter. So that's talking about this formula right here. If you want to find the radius, you take your diameter and you divide it by 2. So that is how you find your diameter and your radius. Now remember, last year I didn't want you to memorize these formulas, because I just want you to know naturally what the radius and the diameter is. So still, I don't expect you to memorize these formulas, but I do expect you to know how to use them. So, not these formulas, but the diameter and the radius. So let's do some examples, and then you can try on your own. So really quickly, the diameter of a circle is 12 feet. Find the radius. So we're on A, and if the diameter is from one side all the way through the center to the other side, and it's 12 feet, we only want half of that because the radius is only from the center to the edge. So half of that is 12 feet. So here they use the formula, but again, you don't have to, and they get 6 feet, because half of 12 is 6. All right? So the next example here, it says the radius is 8 meters, and what's the diameter? So same thing here. They say the radius from the center to the outside of the circle is 8 meters. We know the diameter is all the way through the center to the other side. So we need to double this 8 meters. So if we double it, you can use the formula, but again, you don't have to. You should get 16 meters because 2 radiuses equals 1 diameter. So 2 times 8 is 16. All right, I know I went through that fast because you should all know this stuff. And if you don't, go ahead and rewind and watch it again. But if you do know and you're ready to go on, I want you to do number 1 and 2 on your own. Okay, now that you've had a chance to go over 1 and 2, number 1 asks you to find the radius of the circle. Here you can see they give you the diameter, so half of that is 3 feet. So our radius equals 3 feet, and that's it. On the diameter, they give you the radius, and that's only through half of the circle. We want to go through the whole circle, so we want 2 radiuses to make 1 diameter. So if you do 11 times 2, you're going to get 22 meters, so your diameter equals 22 meters. Okay? So let's move on. All right. Now it comes the time for us to review how to find the circumference and the area of a circle. Now in this statement, it says the distance around a circle is called the circumference. So circumference is just a fancy word for the perimeter of a circle. But I don't want you to use the word perimeter. I want you to get used to using the word circumference. All right? And then it goes on to talk about the ratio of circumference over diameter, which equals pi. And this we already talked about last year about pi being 3.14 or 22 over 7. So we're going to review when to use 3.14 and when to use 22 over 7. I want you just to remember that whenever your radius or your diameter can be divided by 7, so in other words, is a multiple of 7, then you use 22 over 7 when you're finding your pi. And we'll do some examples of those. But if it's not a multiple of 7, then you have to use 3.14. Another reminder, really quick, when you use pi, so when you use pi, it's very important to remember that you have to use the word about. So when you use pi, use the word about. Because pi is not exact. It's a decimal that goes on forever. So it's impossible to actually calculate pi. However, we can get awfully close, which is why we always use the word about. So from here on out, we're going to be using the word about when we get our answer. So really quick, we're going to review the formulas. These you do have to know. These I had you memorize last year, so hopefully you still remember them. But the circumference of a circle is circumference equals pi times diameter, but diameter is just 2 r's, which is why you can also use circumference as 2 pi r. Okay? So those are our formulas for our circumference. Whenever they give you the diameter, then you use that formula. So for instance, if I told you that you have a circle and your diameter is 3, what's your circumference? You would use the circumference equals pi times diameter because I gave you the diameter. But if they give you the radius instead, then you have to use the formula for radius. Okay, so make sure you write these two formulas in your notes. Also, we're going to review the area of a circle, which we went over last year as well, which is area equals pi r squared. Okay, r squared is different than 2 times r. So r squared does not equal 2 times r. All right, this is r times r, and this is 2 times r, which is 2 completely different things. So please do not get those mixed up. All right, so let's do an example. For the first part of this lesson, this goes very quickly, we're going to find the circumference of this sticker here. And because we cannot divide 3 by 7 evenly, we're going to use 3.14 instead of 22 over 7. Okay? So if you notice here, they give us the radius. So since we have the radius, we need to use the formula that includes an r, which is the radius. So we're going to use the formula circumference equals 2 pi r. So because 3 cannot be divided by 7, we're going to substitute 3.14 and 3. When we go ahead and just do that multiplication, we end up getting 18.84. It's just as easy as plugging in the numbers and multiplying. I will let you use your calculator as long as you show your work. So the answer is about 18.84 centimeters. Another way you could write this, since you don't have to write a sentence unless it's a word problem, is about 18.84 centimeters, like that. Okay? And that means this whole thing is your answer. Please do not circle just the 18.84. That would be incorrect. You have to include the about as well. All right? So let's go on to the worksheet and go ahead and do number 3 and 4. All right, now that you've had a chance to do number 3 and 4, I'm going to do these very, very quickly because I want you to have time to review this a little bit more. So on 3, if you notice, our radius can be divided by 7. So our pi that we're going to use is going to be 22 over 7, since we can divide our radius by 7. So because of that, they also give us our radius. So the formula we're going to use is circumference equals 2 pi r. All right? So since they give us our radius, we can use the formula that includes the radius. So now it's as easy as just plugging in our numbers. We have circumference 2, 22 over 7 times 7. Well, when we multiply this out, if you want to think of this as a fraction, these cancel out and become 1 because we can simplify diagonally, which is then super easy to do in your head because all you have left is 2 times 22. So it's 44 meters. Now notice I did forget, so I'm going to go back and erase all this really quick because I forgot myself to write, instead of equals, we have to write about. So our circumference equals about 44 meters. And that's your answer for that one. Okay? If we move on to number 4, notice that we cannot divide our diameter by 7 equally. So for pi, we're going to use 3.14. Okay? And then for our circumference formula, we're going to use circumference equals pi times diameter because we have our diameter. So when we go to plug that in, we're going to change it to circumference is about 3.14 times 15. And then when we go ahead and do that multiplication, we're going to get 47.1 inches. And that's our answer. Notice that I put the about symbol because that's what we have to do whenever we use pi. All right, let's move on. All right, now the example for the area. So we're going to use the exact same sticker, but this time we're going to find the area. So there's only one formula for area. So area equals pi r squared. And that's great because we already have our radius, which is 3. We're going to use 3.14 for our pi because our radius cannot be divided by 7. So then we just plug in our numbers. Notice that 3 squared is not 6. It's 9 because it's 3 times 3, which is 9. Then when you go to multiply, and they even made a mistake, this should be about. Then when they go to do that, again, they should have put about. They will get 28.26. And notice they did put it in their sentence, and they got 28.26 square meters. Another way you can write this is area is about 28.26 centimeters squared. It's all the same. And remember, we put the squared because anytime you find area, you have to put the squared on your units. Not on your number, on your units. Okay, your turn. Let's see if you remember from last year. Go ahead and do 5 and 6. That out. Okay. Again, our radius is divisible by 7, so we can use 22 over 7 for our pi. So pi is going to be about 22 over 7. And then we're going to use our only formula we have, which is pi r squared. So then we're going to plug in our numbers, which will be, let's see, 22 over 7. Let me put the about symbol. And then we're going to do 7 squared. All right? At this point, we can do 22 over 7. 7 times 7 is 49 over 1, because now we can cancel off this and make that a 7. We're simplifying diagonally. So now it's as easy as just going, our area is about, do 22 times 7, and you're going to get 154 yards squared. All right, let's come over to this next example. Again, we're going to use area equals pi r squared, but this time because it is not divisible by 7, our pi is going to be about 3.14. So then when we plug it all in, we're going to get area is about 3.14. And this time, we cannot just plug in 20 because this is our diameter. So we don't want our diameter. The diameter equals 20. We want our radius. The radius is half of that, so it's 10. So we're going to plug in 10 squared. So then we just get 3.14 times 100. 10 times 10 is 100. And if you remember, we can multiply 3.14 times 100 just by moving our decimal over twice. If you don't remember that, that's okay, but if you do, that's awesome. So 314 millimeters squared, and that's your answer. All right, now that we've reviewed this material, you can come to class tomorrow. We're going to practice it a little bit more, and then you'll be ready to find surface area of cylinders. All right, I will see you tomorrow.